Sri Bhatia. Let me first begin by asking you about the nature of support that World Bank is looking to extend to small and medium enterprises. We're given to understand that about $750 million worth of support is being provided. Help us understand what is the World Bank aiming to do with the kind of support that has been provided now for Indian MSMEs.
Thank you very much. If you permit me just to put this loan in the context of the overall support on COVID that we're putting into India. Clearly, COVID is a health crisis, so we started with a health program. But the health program is very unique. It resulted in social distancing and lockdown, which really resulted in a slowdown of an economy, purposeful slowdown of the economy. At that stage, government, to the Garib Kalyan Yojana, created a social assistance program for the poor and the vulnerable to bridge them during this downturn. And at that time, we put in $1 billion into the social protection program. The third part of the strategy is really about economic stabilization and getting the economy to be ready for the revival. And here the focus, or one part of the focus of government in the Atmanirbhar Bharat Yojana is the small and medium enterprise. And the idea is to really give the small and medium enterprise an economic platform on the basis of which they can grow. And most important, to ensure that they don't fall into insolvency. It's this third part that we are now investing in, $750 million. And it's a program that really has three components. The first component is government has introduced significant liquidity into the market, either through the central bank or through government's own programs. But this liquidity is at the wholesale level. The key is, how do you take this liquidity down into the hands of MSMEs? So it's unlocking that liquidity. And this program supports government's strategy of using NBFCs and small and medium small banks into really intermediating that money into the hands of MSMEs. So it's a program that provides, if you will, guarantees and de-risks that lending so that the liquidity can move right into the hands of the small and medium enterprises, but through NBFCs and small finance banks, and that's critical. And the final component of the program is to ensure inclusion and piggyback on what India is a global leader on, is fintech, and to take the different platforms of fintech, Treads and others, to ensure that the credit is reached to as many MSMEs as possible. But the real objective of this program is to ensure that viable MSMEs remain viable, that they don't fall into insolvency, and that their economic platform enables them to enter into the economic growth that we hope will be following this slowdown that was imposed by the pandemic.
Right, Junaid, I want to understand from you, you did talk about that a large part is also, in terms of the support is going to go towards de-risking the MSMEs, ensure that they survive during the COVID times. I want to understand from you, is this support milestone based? And if yes, which are the areas that the World Bank will be looking at critically as far as the support to MSMEs is concerned?
You're absolutely right. This is a milestone-based program in the following sense. We're not investing in a specific infrastructure. We're not investing in a specific education program. Those are investment loans. Here, what we're doing is investing in government's program of creating an ecosystem of finance for MSMEs. And what that ecosystem is really doing is the following. It's saying, let's get wholesale liquidity out into the market. Two, let's make sure that this wholesale liquidity goes into the hands of MSMEs. But they could have chosen very specific mechanism. They could have said, let it all go through the public sector banks. But here what government has done is saying there's a whole intermediary setup, NBFCs and small finance banks and others that have a relationship with the small and medium enterprises, that understand small and medium enterprises. Let's piggyback on this private sector intermediary system to get the money into the hands of the small medium enterprise. And here the milestones are the number of small medium enterprises that will get access to finance, the leveraging of NBFCs and small finance banks and other private sector intermediaries. And third is the working of the guarantee system, because what government is doing is it's introducing several guarantee mechanisms in which they de-risk. So they take the first loss, if you will, for the lending by NBFCs into MSMEs. What that does is two things. One is those who are reluctant to put money into NBFCs now have the added incentive to do so. And second, NBFCs, if they're reluctant to put money into MSMEs, now have an incentive to actually go and put money into MSMEs. And third, actually, is that those MSMEs that are reluctant to borrow in a context of downturn now have a greater incentive to borrow. So it's really unleashing this chain of intermediation so that all the liquidity that has been created by government, both through monetary and fiscal policy, now can be intermediated into the hands of MSMEs and keeping them viable, keeping them away from insolvency. And that's extremely important.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Having said that, I want to, Junaid, also understand from you, the Prime Minister himself has given a clarion call for a more Atmanirbhar or a more self-reliant Bharat, and a large part of this heavy lifting will have to be done with respect to the small and medium enterprises. I want to understand from you how challenging is it going to be to really remove China from the supply chains that we have currently built into India and ensure that our Indian MSMEs can do some of the heavy lifting there?
So I think what I think is very important in the program that government has introduced, that it's not a scheme, right? It's not a line of credit to MSME for the moment. What it is trying to create an ecosystem in which you have wholesale financier, retail financiers linking up with small, medium enterprises. That's one part of the program. It's access to finance. But government has also introduced to the MSME ministry interventions to increase the real sector productivity of MSMEs, giving them access to capacity, giving them access to markets. That's where the center will be working with states around clusters of MSMEs. So when you put it together, access to finance, access to markets, access to capacity, and you put all of this together, it begins to strengthen the platform of MSME as a very dynamic part of an economy. And I think by investing in that, you're investing in strengthening the backbone of MSMEs that can be part of the global value chain and indeed be able to export and be able to produce for the rest of the world, not only for India. So from that perspective, this investment in MSME is really an investment in getting India into the global value chain even more.
Junaid, before I let you go, and this is going to be my last question, I want to understand from you, in terms of reducing India's excessive import reliance, the Prime Minister, as we've been talking on our channel as well, has given a clarion call for becoming more self-reliant. Having said that, do you think the Indian MSMEs currently are equipped to take that challenge? And besides that, how tough is it really going to be to ensure that we don't excessively depend on China in terms of our raw materials, because that has been a huge concern at this point of time so far?
I think it's very important, and we as a multilateral have seen this across the years in the world. If indeed you're building self-reliance, you can build self-reliance by protecting excessively a sector, or you can make self-reliance happen by enabling the sector to engage in global value chains. We think that the best way to do self-reliance is to engage in global value chain, and investing in the capacity of MSMEs, in their access to finance, building an ecosystem, building systems of access to markets will give you that platform. And you'll find that as MSMEs grow, they will diversify their access to imports and inputs wherever they want. In today's world, if you look at a bicycle, right, you find that a bicycle's parts are made anywhere from Europe to Latin America, to East Asia. So that final bike that, for example, the famous Italian bikes is not an Italian bike. It's actually a multinational bike. This is the world that we're in. We're a world of global value chain. Now, I recognize that we are seeing a lot of shifts happening in the world in terms of trading changes, shifts in comparative advantages. We're seeing industry move out of China. We see those industry going into places like Vietnam and Thailand and other countries. Because India is going to be investing in its MSMEs and strengthening their platform, it really gives India a chance to actually bring in these industries that are now beginning to move and seek other areas of base for development. So I don't see a contradiction between investing in MSMEs and investing in global value chain. It's how strong you make your system, how resilient you make your system. That's what really matters. And in this case, investing in NBFCs and small finance banks to make your financial intermediaries very strong will piggyback on something which is extremely important for India, where it's a global actor, which is in fintech. Once you link fintech into the NBFC small finance bank, in the liquidity that government is producing, you're creating a global platform for MSMEs.